So, welcome to Diversity Matters, the series where I get the opportunity to discuss the power of diversity, equity, and inclusion with leaders across the country. I'm your host, Teresa Palacios Smith, Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And today I'm so honored to have two visionary leaders with me. Joining us are the co-founders of the Veterans Association of Real Estate Professionals, Dustin Luce and son Nguyen. And VAREP, for those who are not familiar with the organization, which is known as VAREP, right, is dedicated to increasing sustainable homeownership, financial literacy education, VA loan awareness, and economic opportunity for both active military and veteran communities. And their organization is one of the very few, and it's an honor because this is really difficult for a lot of the corporations that runs through a foundation. So you are a 501c3, which is a huge benefit when it comes to corporate giving. But beyond this, the organization empowers real estate professionals in helping advance homeownership to the giving to the group of all, are the most giving group of all. That's our military families. And so please join me in welcoming Son and Dustin to the show. I'm so excited to have both of you on, and it's such an honor right before the holidays to actually talk about some of the things that are happening in your space.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, good to be here, Teresa.
Well, first of all, I'm always interested in learning about how you both met, right? And what inspired you to start VAREP? And what are some of the goals of the organization, as well as for those who are not familiar, what our chapters are located, where your chapters are, and also what does it cost to join? All those questions all folded into one.
Okay, well, I'll take that one, and Son will fill in the blanks. So where did Son and I meet? Years ago, man, probably it was back 2009 or 10.
Yeah.
I had a real estate office that I needed to broker a record, and I knew who Son was in the industry. He's always been a leader in the industry, in the real estate market, and he was working on you guys remember short sales, and he was with a company. They were kind of formulating a plan to educate, and so a mutual friend connected the two of us. I needed a broker record for the office, so Son came on, and I think we immediately hit it off because you'll find that his and my personality are kind of polar opposites. So in any good relationship, it's good to have a balance. So Son came on, and he was really he was a mentor for me coming into the real estate market and how to lead an office and train and educate. And working together for a couple of years, this was during the market downturn, right? So everybody was in turmoil. No one knew really what to do in the real estate market at that point. And so in comes VAREP. Son came to me one day and he says, I see an issue in the marketplace. I see a gap that nobody is filling. And it was within the veteran market, veteran real estate, home ownership. And, Son being a veteran, said, hey, I think this is something we should look at and tackle. And we looked at our sister organizations like ARIA, NAREP, and NAREP, and the good that they've been doing, and we said, well, what if we did something similar to that and filled that gap? So we immediately started discussing and kind of brainstorming, whiteboarding, in front of us, and figuring out how could we approach this and fill this gap. So from there, like you mentioned, we decided to launch a 501c3, a community-based organization, because what we realize is if we're going to attack this issue in the marketplace, which is number one, a gap of veterans understanding the VA loan benefit that they get, right? There's a massive gap in understanding there. Number two, there's also a massive gap in understanding in our real estate professionals as to how the VA loan works and how to work with a veteran. And like for myself, being a patriot, having family that served, but then also there's always going to be that gap of understanding. So we thought, how do we educate both sides? How do we go to the real estate market, the real estate practitioners, and be a source of education and awareness, and also build a culture inside of that? And then also at the same time, how do we go to the veteran community and educate them on the VA loan benefit? So that was kind of like the foundation building blocks of what is now VAREP, which has gone so many different directions. And that's a testament to the membership and our board and everybody else that's involved that just sees all these different gaps in the marketplace that we're attempting to fill. So you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you summarized it perfectly. The only thing I would say is that as we expanded, and we'll cover this, we've formulated programs, and we realized that that the need, as we fill these gaps, were there. Someone just had to hop in, and so we did. Yeah.
Well, number one, so you had to do that around 2010, 11, 12?
Yes.
Because I remember being in that market, and what a perfect time to do it, because you're right, there was so many first of all, myths about VA loans and totally incorrect, data about it. So providing the opportunities now for veterans to be able to access information through realtors, because the realtors are, the link that really are so critical in the process of homeownership. So kudos to you. And chapters, so for those that you've got chapters all across the country, or
yeah, we have. So we started out with the idea of, well, let's follow our big brothers and sisters who have done this already, launch chapters throughout the country. So how many states are we in right now?
We're in 22 plus states, 25 chapters, and we have 10 in formation at this particular time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, fantastic.
So we have a pretty big footprint, and that kind of goes into all the other programs and services that we've evolved into. It really powers that. It's, as you can see up on our screen, it's we consider our boots on the ground. Our chapters are the ones that really make things happen. So the chapters are a board of 8, your typical president, VP, secretary, and so on. Their goal and their aim really is to impact the local community. So they're our educators. They'll do our lunch and learns. They'll do our community outreach in that area. They do fundraisers. They even raise money to give back to local families. We've heard hundreds of stories of whether it be helping a veteran with paying a utility bill or getting rent paid so they don't get an eviction notice, to doing homeownership workshops. So they're really a massive resource for the local community to help people understand what is at stake here, what is necessary to get a veteran to realize that American dream that they fought for.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, it's a very touching to get involved on a local level, because you do more than just, help in the real estate aspect. You really help where there's need. And I think that's what's the beauty of your local chapters and all the work that you do, along with the fact that, a lot of people don't realize that DE&I, which is what I'm focused on, right, are such crucial aspects of any organization. But the military community is probably the most diverse. So what does that group look like? What's the buying power? Why is it important for us to really acknowledge and also address military and veterans?
Right. Absolutely. Well, the face of the military and veteran culture has changed, right, as the country has changed and getting more diverse. And so right now, the Hispanics are the fastest growing minority group amongst the service member and the veteran community. Women, and this is shot up by approximately 3 or 4%, makes up 16.5% of the communities. And approximately 6% of the communities identify as the LGBTQ plus community, and 43% of the military and veteran population are people of color. And so they're also getting younger. As we know, we've heard that about the generations, where we have the baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, and then they're prepping, right, to accept the Gen Alpha generation. And so I can tell you right now that 82% of active military are millennials, right? Are millennials that need the homeownership services. And in the veteran community, Gen X makes up 7.8 million. The baby boomers, 5.6 million. And then the millennials, since post 9/11, over 4 million have served, right? And so that population is steadily rising, mirroring the 82% right now in active duty that will then be be retiring here soon. I believe the oldest millennial just turned 43 about a couple of months ago in the military. So it's good about time they put in their 20 to retire and be accepted into the veteran community.
Yeah.
But they're getting younger, more diverse, and it's awesome to see.
It's awesome to see. And it's also the perfect leeway, perfect for this organization because millennials are at that perfect buying stage, right? That's when you see that, hey, I need to buy a house, I'm starting a family, I'm, leaving the military. It's really important for me to actually take the steps for homeownership. So what a perfect group. And I did not realize that 82% that's a large number, and the large number of 40% and plus growing that is diverse in your community. So I'm very impressed.
Yeah, let me say something on that too, real quick.
Yes.
Is I'm on that upper edge, right? So it's basically my generation and a little bit younger, and I'm seeing lots of my friends right now. Facebook. We watch the career starting to retire and exit from the Air Force and different branches. So, they're understand that they've been moving around duty station to duty station. Now they're ready to set roots where they're at or where they wanted to be. So that's the opportunity there. But also something that I came to understand being in this organization and being around military is, you take an 18-year-old who decides to go in the military, and we know that our education system's done a horrible job teaching financial literacy just across the board, right? A young person doesn't know how to, well, they don't know what a checking book is anymore, but they just look at the bank account, how much balance do I have, right? So when they go in the military, as San taught me, you're taught that you're going to go to fight. You're taught for a purpose, or you're taught to support the ones that are going to go to the front line. That's the, Army and so on. So when they exit the military, if they're not going to go 20 years and they're exiting in the early 20s, the reality is the financial literacy gap is massive. So, I've been in several situations where I was talking to young, not to retirees, but young folks exiting the military, and they don't know what to do. They have some money and maybe they go buy a Camaro or they go buy a motorcycle, and it puts them in a really bad position. So that's where it's very, very important for the economic and financial literacy, as we'll get into kind of some of the things that we do, but then also for the audience here to understand what they're going through and where they're at so you can properly guide them.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I had a good friend who told me that, when they were in the military and when they served their time, they came out, everything had been done for them. They had housing selected for them. Their vehicles were selected for them. They had no idea what to do because everything had always been done for them. Like, this is what you got to do. This is the ABC and you followed orders, right? So not having that was very daunting. And so I think it's really important to go through that literacy, to provide them the education and also to assist in the process. So you have great resources at VAREP. I'm just so amazed with all the materials, all the things that you do. So let's talk about that so that we can provide what are some of those resources that are available to help veterans and also for our agents who want to get involved.
Yeah, well, I'll take the first one. So one of the big things that we do is years ago, we got approved as a HUD housing counseling agency. And for a while, people were telling us you need to get certified with HUD. And we were kind of bucking against that because, the reality is, if you look at the thousands of HUD housing counselors out there, there's really none that understand the VA loan and understand the veteran culture. It's focused on diversity, include first-time home buyers, right? Which is great. FHA, HUD and FHA, right? So, we looked at that and we said, okay, we'll get involved in that. And so we got certified as a HUD housing counseling agency. And so again, we're the one that knows this field, and we do counsel anybody who comes in. We're on the HUD's website, but we have a specialization in helping veterans. We have staff on board that Marines, Navy, that are HUD housing counselors that understand not only the culture and the life cycle of military, but then they also understand the VA loan and how to help educate to get there. So that's a massive resource that came online, several years back with VAREP, where folks can find us directly, but then also our membership has a route and an opportunity, or even the general public, as far as realtors go, can access and send their clientele here to get free housing counseling, to get on the road and the path to homeownership. And you can go to our website. We have, hundreds of examples of folks who have gotten themselves prepared, whether it be bad credit or no money saved, and we get them to the point of homeownership and then success in buying their home. So I would say that's probably our biggest resource. You want to share some of the classes that we have and education?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to also add, as we start on this, and we advocate obviously for the VA loan guarantee program, but we're more beyond that, right? And I remember someone said to me in the early stages, Son, home ownership is a luxury, and it hit me, and I thought, you know what, you're right. I said, you're right, it is, but housing is not. And so the organization is beyond the VA loan. The VA loan is one of the entitlements that the Department of Veterans Affairs, right, gives to the veterans. However, if home ownership is a luxury, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. How do we get there? How do we prepare these young men and women of all backgrounds to get financial literacy literate, right? To get every step along the way. And then what we have found out during our counseling is that holistically, we referred a lot of the homelessness, right, over to the HUD-VASH program. We have reported fair housing violations, SCRA, the Service Member Civil Relief Act violations where on active duty. So what we have become is much more than the VA loan, but all that it encompasses to get ready. Job training, small business development. So those are some of the other programs and resources that have come out of us being in the niche that we're in on a holistic level.
In so many lives and doing such great work. And for those who are not aware, to get a HUD counseling agency approved is probably one of the most rigorous processes. You're under a lot of, microscopes. I mean, you have to fill out it's great because y'all did it, because y'all used to filling out forms, but that is a huge process. So kudos, because it is a great advantage that you have in being able to help through the process. And I love that. I never thought about, but having a home is a luxury, right? And to really understand how I can actually be in that step, in that process of having a home ownership, because it does provide you so much wealth creation that truly is inspiring. So I'm going to tell you, I love your conferences. I feel so patriotic. I feel so, when I go, and every conference I attend, there's something with the different organizations I'm involved with that I leave with feeling when I'm there. For me, being an American, being a Latina, being someone whose family was in service of my father-in-law was in the Navy, my father was a merchant marine, I have uncles that were Air Force. And so having that military just brings it all full circle. And so I feel so wonderful when I'm there. And it's great to know that I'm a patriot, right? You mentioned that, Dustin. So, I didn't serve personally, but you welcome everyone. So talk about those two conferences and what opportunities it brings to the members.
Absolutely. Starting off every June, we have our policy conference is in DC, right? And so it's an opportunity, right, for grassroots advocacy. For our boots on the ground, they have an opportunity to come and walk the halls of Congress, right? They have the right to come and go on the Hill for a policy position. So this year is especially important, okay? Because our policy positions, we have a couple of breakout sessions. The first one is to discuss our policy positions, which we have two bills, right, that have been introduced. One is to get us to be a chartered veteran service organization, and the other one is to be to the Consumer Disclosure Housing Act, right? It's called the VALID Act, to include the VA home loan. When a person applies for a VA home loan, right, our goal is to make sure that they get also disclose to them their FHA, what it would be, and a conventional. Because our goal is we may advocate for the VA home loan, but we want the veterans to get a whole big picture and let them decide, right? And so the current law right now just is when they apply for an FHA loan, they just get a comparison of the conventional, right? So the VA is not included.
So they
We
can't
want to modify it. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
I
And
didn't
so
know that.
we have that panel, right, with the policy, but this year we have a panel specifically addressing the NAR decision, right? As an industry panel, then we're going to have the key officials from the VA Home Loan Guarantee division there. We're also going to have a finance, housing policy, right? Representative there as well to represent the financial sectors. And then we're still in the works of securing some powerhouses for the point of view from the real estate perspective. So it's going to be a well-rounded panel to discuss, right? And see what proposed solutions we can come up with. I keep on using the word holistically because we have to. We have to be inclusive of all of the diversity that are veterans and service members and how that's going to affect. And so it's going to be exciting, very exciting. It's always exciting to march on the Hill, right? But very exciting this year as the decision was made with the NAR. And then fast forwarding to October of every single year, that conference, it roves across the country. This year we're in Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, and is October this year, 13th through the 15th. That's our national convention. Once again, allows all the members, the leaders to go get and reset, get nourished, get educated, network, feel inspired, but yet learn and equip themselves with more tools so they can serve the local communities. And it also allows us as VAREP National to share with them what we're doing and how we're impacting as a whole. So two great conferences that we have planned on a yearly basis.
And they really are so wonderful. And again, the inspiration of the speakers that you have at convention are something that is beyond touching. So I just want you to know that it's one of my favorites, very special to participate in. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the effects of the NAR settlement, which have always, we've always been able to negotiate. Everyone's always negotiated commitment. That all is, that was always the way it's been, right? But I think it certainly put a different mindset for some reason for the consumer because of the misinformation that's been distributed in the different social media outlets and through our marketing of many of the television reporting that's been done. So I want to come back to that because it's really important because a lot of people are scared. Real estate agents are nervous because they want to be able to serve the veteran community and they're concerned that they're not going to be able to do it in the right way. And I think we all need to be concerned about it. So, but let's talk about some of the programs still that you are involved with. Gary is Walker, who's with our Prosperity Home Mortgage, talked about vet cares and solutions that you offer to veterans and military families, and he's very passionate about it. And then I always am amazed because I cannot do a push-up. I would never have been able to serve in the military. Just my inability of the arm strength to do that, but the stop, drop, and push campaign. So talk about what all that is.
Absolutely, Dustin. Go ahead.
Okay. So, again, earlier I mentioned how kind of the power of having a passionate group of people working together for a common cause, right? Which is in this organization is helping veterans. And so there's been some pivotal points through the development of our organization that really affected all of us. And one of them, you bring up stop, drop, and push, is the veteran suicide epidemic. And you see statistics out there, 22 a day. And if you're not familiar with that number, it's hard to comprehend. It's hard to grasp. Literally that the numbers come out to be 22 veteran suicides a day. That means today.
It's actually the good news, right? It's never one too many in all demographics, right? But it's alarming of the 22 per day. But it's recently gone down. We still use 22. That's where it started from a VA study, right? However, it's down, I believe, to 19 to 20, which is outstanding.
That's great.
Yeah. So, we had, I remember back to our Las Vegas conference. I forgot what year it was. It was maybe 2014.
No, it was it was, I think, something like that. Yeah.
So we had a member, his daughter, unfortunately, this happened, and there were several other circumstances that came to our awareness, and so we were having discussions with our board, and just the question was, what does this mean? Like, what do we see an issue? What are we going to do about it? And There's a lot of organizations, which is great, that do work in this field, and which is, if you set the whole idea of the veteran suicide aside for a second, you just simply say the health of all of us, right? The mental health of all of us, and how do we impact people? So, we decided to launch this Stop, Drop, and Push campaign, and really the whole goal was to raise funds we looked at where are the gaps in the marketplace to help out with this. And there are a myriad of organizations that are doing therapy programs, whether it be going to jujitsu, the local jujitsu place, a lot of them have a free class to come to, or whether it be horseback riding or horse therapy, all these different things. And what we realized is there were gaps as we looked into it in where a veteran might want to go from Florida to Utah to go whitewater rafting for a program. But, the rafting was free, but getting there was not.
Mhm.
And so we said, well, let's raise funds to send people to these organizations and to these events. So that's how it started, was let's raise money and let's help people get there. It's transformed well beyond that now, where yes, we do give the money to help people get certain therapies or certain programs, but then we also 2 years ago we launched Camp Cares, which is a fly fishing camp in Montana. We've done two, both in September of 23 and 22. And now this year we're going to have a all women's camp in July and an all men's camp in August. So this is Camp Cares logo, which it's Vet Cares. One of their programs is an organization that we launched as a sister organization. So it's powerful. I got to go to the last one and help coach that. It's just to see the shift and the change, and just simply giving your time and just simply being raw and connected is enough. And we could do that in our daily lives too. It doesn't take an event. It takes you caring about the person in front of you. And so that's what really, showed me and the organization as a whole, is just care about the person in front of you. What do you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Vet Cares, as you had mentioned, we spun that. We took our Stop, Drop, and Push suicide prevention campaign and brought it out from underneath VAREP and formed a sister company called Vet Cares Inc. And that's where we run our philanthropy programs in it. And that's where the Stop, Drop, and Push campaign stands right now for funding gap funds for alternative therapy treatment. But also underneath that, Teresa, we have other grants, closing cost grants for LMI borrowers. We also have what we call the trauma thriver grants, right? Because MST, military sexual trauma, and also domestic violence is higher rates in the military. And so the aftermath of that, we have grants. We're kicking that off this year to support, right? Those individuals. We also have the Callaway emergency grant that we help. And then Dustin mentioned Camp Cares. So Vet Cares is our sister company that we run the philanthropy programs. And collaborating with organizations like yourself, right, is something that we have reached out, we could work on, right? And it's a great thing to partner with. We have many grants to choose from, right? Whatever a person connects with. So it's an opportunity.
Well, it's such a wonderful side to what you do already, and it's definitely touching. And so for me, I know you may or may not be aware of, but I lost my husband by suicide 1 year and 3 months ago. And so for that reason, that Stop, Drop, and Push campaign has always been so significant to recognize the mental health and awareness that we really need to be conscious about. And I love the Camp Cares idea altogether. What a great concept. So I want to give you kudos for that as well. One of the things that people may not be aware of, and because we're in homeownership, that's what we do, is what are some of those challenges that are, that we need to know for veterans? You kind of mentioned a little bit, but if you can go into more detail, when someone is a veteran that wants to buy a home, what are some of the challenges they may face today, especially?
Well, for us, sort of an organization, we say it's lack of knowledge, lack of education, lack of preparation. The military, the DoD, does a great job of making sailors, soldiers, Marines, right, coasties out of us. But they as far as transitioning out, a lot of service members have besides the employment, right, aspect of it and what have you, financial, right, issues is like ranks in their top 5, I believe 3rd or 4th on their list of their concerns. And along the way, right, and this is just, I think, youth, right? This is no DOD, this is no VA, it's just youth. And not only youth, but predatory lending, right, issues, payday scams, checks, right? And combined with their youth, they would rather go and buy a Camaro instead of save money, what have you. So it's the financial literacy aspect of it that we see the most with the transitioning out and also with the veterans, and it keeps on spiraling. And they need intervention in the form of coaching, counseling, saying, stop it, we'll help you, guide you. That is one of the major obstacles. But also, family, when you have family issues, what have you. And we were asked by Congress several years ago to weigh in on homelessness, right? Veteran homelessness, which is in the homelessness space is skewed, right? There's a lot of veteran homelessness space. And besides besides the mental health and besides the substance abuse, right? A study was done that showed the stresses of constantly moving, the stresses of financial or bad decisions made up a significant portion of homeless veterans. And so I would say, number one, let's take care and educate them while they're in the service early on, make sure they have good habits, transitioning out, following along the way, and continue to make sure that they are ready and sound for mortgage, get the mortgage ready to make that final step and purchase, right, along the way. And help them negotiate, get out of leases, help them out of bad things and whatever, to get them so they can end the cycle, right, of the financial worry. So I believe that's the big step. And along with that, inform them of their VA home loans, right, their right to that, to make sure that when they go before a real estate and lending professional, they are armed with their own knowledge and they can compare, right, to what their professionals are telling them. That's all. So I think it's a lack of education that the service members and the veterans are facing with that benefit.
Well, and the veteran loan, that program is so phenomenal. It really is, because it really provides them a lot of savings and opportunities that the other loans don't. And I think that really is the biggest advantage of the VA loan. But, and I'll tell you, my daughter and son-in-law, my son-in-law was in the reserves. They just bought a home and they could not, they had so many issues with the VA loan for different reasons, but they ended up buying a house and they went conventional for that reason. And I don't want that to happen to others as well. And you mentioned earlier, we talked about NAR settlement, right? That what effect, because I've gotten so many calls, and I know you have too. I'm sure you've gotten hundreds of calls from our realtor community that says, with the changes in our industry, what are the solutions that you have or able to provide so that, we can compensate those buyer's agent if the seller chooses not to pay a buyer agent fee for veterans that are looking to purchase their home?
Absolutely. So I would have to go back a bit and agree 100% with you, right? The fact that right now, whether it's social media, whether it's the actual the media or whatever sources, a lot of speculation is happening, a lot of misinformation, a lot of conjecture is out there. And what I would implore everyone that's listening here is to allow and have faith, right, in the systems, right? Like, as for us, we have been in direct contact with the VA Home Loan Guarantee Division, right? And back and forth, we have a direct connect with them, and they're assuring us, right, that is their number one priority at this time. And they're working, and we'd be, one of the first ones to know, right? And as I shared with them, that we thank them and we're going to sit by, right? But we all know that July is the deadline, so it's right around the corner. And so what we're asking and what we're working towards is not only with them, but HUD. I just got a response back from HUD directly of how this is going to impact their borrowers as well, and which is a large part of veterans as well. And so they are also waiting to see how it pans out before they have an official comment. What I would like to say and implore both is bring organizations like us, right? And our big brothers and sisters and the real estate together and have a roundtable discussion. My concern is that as they make decisions the best way they know how to, they're making decisions based upon their traditional point of view as an agency, but from the lending perspective, which is great, right? However, this decision, right, affects the real estate, the boots on the ground, and let us as advocacy groups, let us be the industry to have the seat at the table while they're making it. So we're having discussions and trying to get at the table when they have one, a round table, and see holistically how is this going to work. So that's what we're doing. At this time, this is just pure, I would say speculation, but our recommendations is to obviously rewrite the VA loan guidelines, because at this particular time, it's not allowing the veteran borrower, right, to pay for anything outside of customary fees, right? And so commission is not customary. So you would think they need to write that somehow that would also allow that fee to be made. It's a double-edged sword if you go that way, because it defeats the whole purpose of the biggest benefit of the VA home loan program. It's specifically written so the veterans, right, especially the low to moderate income veterans, right, which affects HUD as well, the borrower who already don't have the money for affordability's sake, right, go and pay. So you give them the right to pay, it solves the workaround. But does it really they don't have money? What are they going to do? You can rewrite it, give them a 40-year loan product, right, and spread it out so the interest rate, it won't be affected the loan payment, but you're still defeating the purpose of what it was set out for, whether it's FHA or VA. So I would say I don't have the answer to that right now, but I would sure love to be in that discussion, all right, with them. And we're sitting idly by, but I just on the top of my head, just thinking about a couple of solutions, give a longer loan product, rewrite it so they can pay. So
right. I agree with you there, because that would solve the short term, it'd be a short-term solution. But the fact is that the down payment to begin with, all the different things that you have to come up with, closing costs, all those parameters, but most importantly, to be competitive with your offer, because as you know, when you've got low, housing options and inventory, the seller is holding all the cards, and he can choose which A, B, or C, seller or buyer he wants or they want to choose. And, so being competitive in that offer is the number one to me. It's about equity, and being able to be as competitive as possible. And right now, that takes it out of the equation. I like the concept that Son and Dustin of getting all the organizations together under one umbrella, because it applies to all of us, all organizations that are working to increase homeownership for the communities of color and the different organizations that we serve, because that's really what it's about. Increasing, we know it's wealth creation through homeownership. There's no doubt about it. So I think getting all of you to, getting all the organizations under one to say, this is what we need to come up. These are the solutions. A lot more smarter people than me can come up with different ideas, right, as to how we can really solve this issue. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and the information you just shared.
Let me say one more thought. Yesterday, I was on a call with a member of Maine legislation, right? Because I also was going to think it's not only federally, but also state by state, and how they're going to administer this. I truly believe we're going to call and advocate as VA rep to the state governors. And whether it's through a proclamation, a bipartisan resolution, whatever it may be, our suggestion is, number one, you use the word competitive. There's another C word called compassion. And I hope and I know that our industry will rally around and have talk the buyer, the seller, right, to pay. right? That is a given, I would say. However, in the cases that they don't, you say, what about states? How are they going to handle it? And my suggestion is that why don't we create subsidy programs or a grant program for the LMI community, no matter what status, right? But that when they don't pay, if they meet that, right, have the housing authorities, right, or the veteran or the nonprofit organizations, right, be able to do that. But I think what it's going to be a work between federal and state to make this
I
happen.
agree. And making it doable, because some of the programs to me are not like, well,
Lots of red tape, lots of red tape, right? Cut the red tape, right?
or even find it, oh, you can qualify if you make,
Right.
but you can't afford to buy a house in that, so
Right.
making it where it's doable for
Yeah, simplistically and quickly
exactly, and fast, which I know is always difficult, any government that we deal with. I always say the best solution is for each of us, though, to voice the concerns that we have to our own representatives in our districts, because that voice is the one that's really going to be the most effective. And we have to be more open-minded about going and talking and calling and driving people crazy, because that's how change happens. All right, that's my word about advocacy, because it's really important. I love that you tell me more about the referral program that you are creating and what opportunities there are for the members of VAREP to get involved.
Yeah, so we're in the process of launching a referral network. It's the MVP
Heroes Housing.
Heroes Housing Network. Yeah, Military, Veteran, and Patriot network. So, the core foundation of it is that we want a network of certified and educated housing professionals. So this goes beyond just general membership. This goes to a set of requirements and hurdles, if you will, for folks to be on this network. Not only what's your history in real estate working with veterans so far, but then going through a series of education that we've set up. That way, the community, the veteran community, or any buyer for that matter, knows that the person that they're selecting to work with is certified, has been through, a range of things. They didn't just pay a fee to get on a list, right? That's the foundation of it. So through that, we're going to be doing a lot of education, a lot of coaching with the folks who are in this network to help them in going out to the community, in using the power of the certification, using the power of, we're even building in some rewards that the client will be able to access in the purchasing process through the agent. So it's foundations, baby steps at this point. I think you're probably the first one that we've spoken to about it publicly, but yeah, it's going to be a very powerful network of folks who are ready to serve the veteran and the LMI communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the core of it is connect the heroes, right, with a certified group of housing professionals, right, but also have what we call the Heroes Real Reward Program, right, where they can realize actual savings towards closing costs, right, or shortly thereafter. So it's a win for everyone, and it allows the people on our network to go beyond thank you for your service, right? It's allowing them, the hero, to realize the rewards, giving back while providing them top-notch service. Yeah.
Well, I think that's an incredible program, and can't wait to hear more about it. You also do, because you mentioned certified, and I meant to ask you, you do have a certification course that real estate agents can take in order to be able to be more aware of the different opportunities there are to serve veterans and military families, right?
Absolutely. Through the network, we have a learning track which is comprised of 3 courses: the Duty to Serve, which is an overview and in-depth discussion of the VA home loan program and the nuances. Secondly, the SCRA, Service Members Civil Relief Act, right, that equips the community to know and to identify what the laws and rules are for active duty members, right, and recognize when the violations are happening. And last but not least, very importantly, is the Fair Housing Act, right? That course to recognize what it is and who's violating it. And so those are the 3 certification courses we have for our network, right? For our, what we call our housing ambassadors, our brand ambassadors to take on that learning track. And fresh off the press this year, we have a certification that we're doing a soft launch beginning next month, but it will be launched at our national convention called the MVLC, the Military and Veteran Lending Certification. And this is probably one of the first of its kind, and it's specifically for the lending community and teaching them the ins and outs of the VA loan program, but more hands-on. So those are our 4 certification classes that we have. We're really proud of them.
Well, I'm going to take that course because I'd love to see what that course, I like to learn and see what courses our different organizations are offering. And it sounds such a critical one for us to get educated on all the different programs that are available to veterans. So I really appreciate it. We're running out of time. We're almost done. And so I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One of them is, because I've heard people say, oh, I hate for you to say thank you for your service. Is that like, some people don't like it? What's the appropriate thing to say to someone who has served that you want to let them know about how much you appreciate it or appreciate what they're doing? Or what is it the right thing to do is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, it's always right to thank a service member, a veteran, thank you for their service. So that's never wrong. I think one of the biggest things that irks the military and veteran community is knowing when to say it. Okay? Do not say thank you for your service on Memorial Day to someone who's living. Right? Those are the people who gave all. Okay, that's mistaken all the time. 101. Say it on Veterans Day. All right.
July 4th and veterans, right?
Right. So I think that's one of the biggest things is knowing your audience and who you're talking it to. And but always say thank you for your service. It's just sometimes we joke about it, but a lot of times I truly believe that there's when you say thank you for your service, me, and I can speak on a lot of my fellow brothers and sisters, is that's what we do. That was our job. So for us, it's nothing special. And when I hear about it, sometimes I don't feel guilty. I mean, I feel guilty for that, right? We're not taught as one individual. We're taught as a unit, as a family, right? As a country. So I can only speak for myself when I hear that. It makes me feel odd. Right. But I know I just say you're welcome or what have you. But it's just, I'm not taught to be one. It's not just me for freedom. It's everyone. And all those people have sacrificed. So that's just one point of view, whether it's valid or not is mine.
That I think it's really important for us to be able to understand the best way to approach someone who actually, and I have to beg to differ on it's a job. Yes, I get that. But my job doesn't put my life in danger every single day to protect, the rights of my freedoms, right? So it's very different. So I just want to make sure that there's a different perspective. I have such respect for what veterans do and for what our active military do every day to protect us and putting themselves at risk in order for the liberties that we take for granted many times. So I really want to make sure to tell you that. All right. I always love to end with a fun question. And of course, we're in the midst of the NCAA basketball tournaments. Warren Buffett's huge on the NCAA. He always has the brackets where you have the chance to, to choose your teams, both in the women's and both in the men's. And this year we have both, right? Options to do it. And of course, women's is so popular. I'm so excited about all the different teams that are playing. So give me your final 4 and then who you think is going to take it all for each one of you.
Well, I'll let Son go. So here,
Okay.
I'm gonna preface this. My family is massive on the NBA, and we haven't gotten into the college basketball, and I'll share a little bit about that in a second. But I'll let Son answer your question.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm the opposite. I love college sports. So there's a lot of opinions out there in the Final Four, but I would have to say UConn, the Houston Cougars, Purdue, and North Carolina, the Tar Heels will make the Final Four. Okay.
For
the men.
Okay.
And I think Purdue's going to take it. All right, take it all. So that's on the men's side. On the women's side, I believe the Final Four will be South Carolina, LSU, USC, and Stanford for the Final Four. And I believe that South Carolina, the Gamecocks, will take it for the women.
Boy, you are on target. That's my picks as well for the two sides. Of course, I had to go with my southern states, so southern schools.
SEC.
That was easy for me. And Dustin, even just because I'm like you, I'm not necessarily a huge basketball follower, but certainly because of Berkshire Hathaway's interest in it, I always like to see and kind of get involved and make my guesses of who is going to win. I'm hoping I can win that $1 million this year because employees get a chance to actually participate if they have the perfect bracket. So we'll see. I haven't looked to see who I picked because I want to see at the end how I did. But how about you, Dustin?
Well, here's what I would do. I would say I would go off of what my brother here has done the research on, because I don't even have a clue. Now, when I hear Purdue, though, I've got some very close friends that are Purdue graduates, so I would definitely go for them just based on that. But I quite literally know nothing about college basketball. The NBA. So a little side story. My youngest son is 12. And then Son's son, Mason just turned 13, right? Yeah. So our boys hang out together. And so a couple of years back, Caleb, my son, was sleeping over at Son's house, and we didn't watch any sports at all. Like we didn't watch anything in our house. And he comes home and he decides he's a Suns fan. And I'm like, what happened here? You didn't even know basketball. And so they were watching a basketball game. Suns were playing. He decided the Suns were his team. And fast forward, now the kid is playing basketball constantly and literally knows everything about the NBA 2 years later.
Isn't that funny? The influences that others have on our children, because my kids went to camps during the summer, and my son one day came home and he goes, I'm a University of Florida fan. And I'm like, where did that come from? He's a Gator fan, and he has been all through and through from that day. He's always been a Gator fan. So I really want to thank you for participating on the show. I really appreciate all the information, the knowledge. One last question: where can we learn, about VAREP? For those who want to join VAREP, learn more about your programs, where do they go?
Yeah, so the website you see up here, varep.net is our website that has all the details on there. Anywhere from about who we are, our board of directors, to events in our chapters, our national chapter directory, education, media, all the programs we have. We didn't get to mention home donations. We donate homes every year with one of our partnerships with Bank of America. So, we everything is up there, and you can see it all. I would also encourage you to follow VAREP National on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can see our updates on there. We have a lot of education that we put out like this. We go online, VAREP. Sans coined VAREP. It's a term. VAREP.
Let's talk.
You're so right.
And one last thing. Speaking of our network, that should be launched approximately April 15th, and just visit MVP. Referral.com, mvpreferral.com. So
I love that. The fact it's military veterans and patriots. What a great idea. See, I even learned it right away. So I love that whole ideology behind how you got started, the programs. It's just been an honor to learn more of the great work that you're doing and all the things that you do to empower our real estate community and to help active military and veterans in their pursuit of home ownership. All right. Well, that's a wrap of another episode of Diversity Matters. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. Please stay updated on future episodes and access exclusive content. You can always go to Diversity Matters series, add the series.com, and that will pull you right directly to our website. And also on YouTube, diversitymattersyoutube.com. It'll pull this show and other episodes as well. And join us back on April 10th, where we're going to connect with our Women Who Lead series. And that's 3 resilient leaders who are going to be on the show. And then back on April 24th for another great episode of Diversity Matters. Well, have a great holiday weekend, everyone. See you next time, and bye-bye. Thank you so much, Son and Dustin.